Welcome
Welcome
to
to
Shade in
Shade
the
in the
City.
City.
I'm Treese,
It's Nose.
and she's a year older, y'all. Just playing. Anyway, but yes, thank you guys to everyone who shared their birthday wishes on
Yes,
all
thank
the
you.
social media feeds. We
I
definitely
appreciate it.
she appreciates it. I appreciate it. But yes, guys, so we are jumping into Married at First Sight, episode 11. We are actually filming as the new one is coming on, so do not judge us. We've been doing a lot, okay? But anyway, so we are going to get into it, and then we will have obviously tonight's episode tomorrow. But anyway, so let's get into it, and you know it's gonna be a hot ass mess because these are some hot ass mess couples. But yeah, let's get into it and let's get shady.
So we pick up where we left off in the shit of the shit. Okay. Justice is
Justin is
outside.
upset, y'all.
Yes, he is upset. He is outside talking to production. Alexis is now coming out the bathroom after speaking to Stasha. But you know what? Alexis was the bigger person, as she is per usual. She
Right.
decides to go outside, talk to Justin.
Talk him off the ledge.
Or try to, because this man is emo. Okay. And
I'm
she tells him that
emotional and I can't let go. What? He's definitely giving emotional. He's definitely giving Carl Thomas. Okay. He's sitting at home. I wish I never met her. Okay.
He giving something else, but we ain't gonna go there. So Alexis goes outside. Yeah, she talks to Justin, and she's like, I don't understand, how we got here.
Right.
And she said, from her perspective, he just kind of like went hard at her. And just because she had nothing to say. So he says in the moment, it looked like, her body language, from her body language, she just shut down. He says majority of the time she's usually bubbly, and now she's just sitting there and didn't have anything to say. And she says she understands where he's coming from. So,
but I have that choice, boo.
I understand where he was coming from, because if you are one way all the time and you're bubbly and you always got something to say, and then the one time that you don't have something to say, it's like there's clearly something wrong with you. And I'm trying to figure out what it is, and you're just like, there's nothing wrong. I'm fine. There's nothing wrong. And it's like, but I know that's not the truth. So you always have something to say, and you're always happy to share.
I guess you have points.
Yeah, I know I do. And I can have somebody else vouch for me, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to go there. So she says, moving forward, can he just say, hey, are you, hey, are you feeling isolated or alone? And I'm just trying to do my part and check on you. Because when he mentioned, you don't want to tell about my progress, she felt like, that was for his own satisfaction and not
absolutely
checking on her. Huh?
I definitely got that. It was like, no, so you were looking for me to praise you is what it was. And I didn't feel like doing that. And that's why I said, I'm not mad at her. I understand what you're saying. And it's like, okay, well, that's not, because I do the same thing. But at the same time, I know I'm feeling some type of way.
It might have been a little bit of both. It might have been he was looking for her to praise him. She really wasn't feeling it. And normally she would be willing to speak up, period. So he's like, right, there's something wrong. And maybe that's why she's not praising me. Who knows? She says that she doesn't want it to be a big deal. And he says it's not. So, they call a truce and they hug it out. Of course, the shit's going to start all over again. That's who they are.
Alexis and Justin meet with Dr. Pepper. And I thought this scene was really funny, y'all, because Dr. Pepper looks like a dwarf. No offense to little people. But in comparison to Justin,
we are little people. Well, not dwarf size, but we're little people.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Everybody would look like a dwarf compared to Justin, though.
That's true. So they sit down to talk, and Justin is already emotional out the gate. So she wants to know what's going on, and he looks over at Alexis. Can you tell her? Can you tell her? So Alexis says that they got a call from the trainer that Justin took Maya to, and they advised that Maya was unpredictable and couldn't be tamed. She was continuing to attack. So they suggested that Justin not even come back and pick the dog up, to just leave the dog there. So he's left Maya to work on the farm. Dr. Pepper tells Justin she's sorry for his loss and understands that that's a part of his family. Now, he said that that was his first dog. He had her for 7 years, but he knew it needed to be done. Now, let me tell y'all, the Twitter streets was eating Alexis's ass up that night, okay? They was like, how dare you make this man give up his dog when you know you are not going to stay with him? I didn't say that. They did. But
what I don't understand is, I can understand if the dog is not changing or making any progress, but why does that mean to keep the dog there? Why couldn't he just go with his original plan and send the dog to his
I
friend?
guess because the best friend can't take, because the problem is the dog is problematic. The dog is problematic, and as we know, he's attacked other dogs before. So now you're at a place where, and he's unpredictable from what they're saying. So you don't know what's going to trigger him and when he's going to lash out. And you put him in this environment where you have to walk him around other dogs or other, whereas if he's on a farm, you know what I mean? The most he might do is kill a possum.
No, she's around other dogs. I saw other dogs there.
Well, maybe they'll beat her ass and she'll sit her ass down. I don't know. But the point is she can't be around Newton.
I don't know. It just makes me feel some type of way that you're saying my dog is so problematic and I shouldn't come get my dog, but you want to keep her.
I don't know. I felt bad for Justin, especially after Twitter lit Alexis up.
And then you don't even go say bye to your dog. I don't know.
Yeah.
I get what Twitter was saying. I completely understand, but I'm feeling some type of way towards Justin too.
Well, that's true. So Dr. Pepper says, she knows Newton getting hurt was a big issue and asks about their healing process. Now, Alexis says after the dinner Sunday, she would hear Justin make comments stating he didn't think he had enough time before decision day to fix things, and he was just feeling defeated. So Alexis says that she decided she doesn't want to hurt anymore. And the easiest way to do that was to forgive. So she must have been watching a couple episodes of Yana or something. And says she wants to give them a fresh start. So Dr. Pepper tells her, that's wonderful. And she's happy for them, but that doesn't clear up everything. She says, she asked what the things are they need in order to give a successful yes on decision day. Justin said for him, after the fight Sunday, he felt alone. However, he said this also gave him a reality check because he started to think about how Alexis felt when she feels isolated and alone. So he admits because she does have the dominant alpha personality, he forgot that she can still be sensitive as well. And I think I've said this in at least 2 or 3 reviews that this was going to come up and be an issue because what she was looking for, she has now become to him. So now, he says he realized she's sensitive and, Alexis blushes and it's like, I'm not a sensitive person. And Dr. Pepper tries to dig deeper on her and it's like, where is that coming from? And she says it's her family growing up around strong Black women, never letting anyone see you vulnerable. She says she's never seen her mother cry once in her life. And she believes it's just what she saw. And she believes, being strong means not being sensitive, not showing weakness with tears. So, she said vulnerability to her is danger. And she feels if she tells someone everything, then that gives them the power over her. And I can kind of agree with her on that. So Dr. Pepper lets her know that the ability to be vulnerable is what makes you strong and says that she wants to help her learn how to feel. We need you to feel, Alexis.
Justin takes Alexis to the area he grew up where, he was raised with his brother. He said he would come out there and want to clear his head and he would bring a kite and imagine he was the kite. He feels like that was an era in his life where he didn't really get exposed to the world. And he moved from Alabama, and at that time he had never left Alabama, and he really had only been in his neighborhood. So apparently him and his brother slept in the same king size bed. At the time his brother was 19 and he was 13.
I love during this scene how she shaded. She was like, how old were y'all?
But apparently he was strict. He says that he would get in trouble if he got bad grades. He would get in trouble if he was late. And he even got his ass whooped. I couldn't imagine his little ass brother whooping his big ass.
Mm-hmm.
I give a I look, 13, 19, I don't care. He was still probably taller than his ass.
Right. But he says it helped him grow. He just wishes he handled it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so Alexis is like, well, how did that help you grow if he whooped your ass? And
what Justin said, I guess what he was saying helped him grow was when he would ask his brother for help, his brother would just tell him to figure it out. And he feels like that trained his mind. And Alexis don't agree.
No, because he won't say anything. He won't ask for help.
Because he feels like he needs to figure it out on his own. And that's the problem. He don't know how to figure shit out.
On his own. He just think he does or come up with the best plan to Justin. So when the dog
she basically
done for 2 days, no, I got it. I got it figured out. It's okay.
She's like, that's why he shuts down. And he doesn't ask for help. And it's because he was always told to figure it out. And she says that helps her understand why they don't think the same way and their perspectives don't match. So she asked him the last time he flew a kite. He says he was 16. I know she was like,
no, actually, I have in my notes, he says the last time he was out there was 23. Then she claimed, because he said about 10 years ago, and he's in his 30s. And she was like, so you was out here at 23 years old? And he was like, oh, like 16. I think he was out there at 23 in the park. And never.
I gotta accept him. She's like, I gotta accept him for who he is.
Right. And they fly the kites, and luckily it got stuck in a tree. So she ain't have to do it no more.
You know what?
Just keeping it real. Now, Alexis takes Justin out to the basketball court. She says she wants him to see her tomboy side because she's been dolled up this whole time, but she farts and burps too. So they sit down and she pulls out. This girl loves a scrapbook. Let me tell you something. Alexis loves a scrapbook. Now, and she shares her scrapbook full of photos from high school and when she was younger, where she mainly played basketball. She says she's been playing basketball since she was 7, and it showed her that when you put in hard work and dedication in anything in this life, and I think most team sports kind of teach you that, that the hard work is going to persevere. So she then begins to read a letter she titles Bag Lady. And I said, you gonna hurt your bag. Just kidding. Anyway, so she said she inherited her mother's hips, lips, and inadvertently her hyper independence. She said she walked into her apartment and her friend was sitting there one day, and she questioned if she was going to help her as her hands were full of groceries. And her friend responded, you never need help, so I stopped asking. Well, she said this taught her she didn't have to do everything on her own. She said, she's working on her hyper independence. I love how she has a name for everything too. That's what I'm saying. This girl is either going to counseling or she's been a counselor. Something is up with her. She compares life to basketball. We seen that maybe they paired her with the wrong person.
Right. You know who I thought of.
Right. So she compares life to basketball and says you can't win the game alone, and it's okay to be soft and strong. Go ahead, girl. Live in your femininity, your divine feminine energy. The ladies meet up. All the merry ladies, all the merry ladies, all the merry ladies. Okay, anyway. So they meet up at Kristen and Mitch's place, and it's actually clean. And we know that's because of Kristen. So while the guys are congregating at Nate.
What was it? I thought it was Stasha and Nate's place.
No, the guys were at Stasha and Nate's.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Because and the only reason I noticed that, shout out to Nate and Stasha. You can tell that girl love herself and her man love her. It is pictures of Stasha all over the wall. All over the wall in the background. If y'all go back and watch. And I don't mean I mean sexy pictures like all of each other, like
of them together.
Mm-hmm. But there's
Oh,
even some of her like in a swimsuit, like,
you know
like
what? When
you
you
can
said
tell
it,
they enjoying each other. Okay.
oh, when you said it, I was thinking like maybe it was just stuff she got from her house.
No, these are pictures of them together, honey. Like they look like they've been together for a while.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
So shout out to Sasha and Nate for that. But anyway,
all right.
so all the guys, guys and girls, we're doing separate hangouts, but we're doing it at his house. That's how it's going down. Now Morgan comes in and receives a very warm welcome from the ladies, but Lindy wants to get right into it and know what's been going on with her. Lindy nosy, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. So they say they missed her. Morgan says she feels like Ben has been lying about something and it's something going on behind her back and she isn't sure. Now she says after the honeymoon, she feels like it took what? Oh, she feels like after she took Ben back the first time, which is a big deal for her, that she was shocked that he went back and did the same thing again. Facts. She said that he's lied to her time and time again. Girl, you only been with him for a month. But after knowing how she felt, she feels like Ben wants to somehow find validation in everyone else rather than talking to her. And she says it's always been about him. She says he's a very different version of himself with everyone, and she feels like she doesn't know who he is. Now, Lindy says that Ben is at a different place in his life, and that sucks because he's not ready for marriage. And Stasia asks whether he's fighting for it, and Morgan says he's not doing anything. Now, couple points. I've heard different sides, and y'all know I play devil's advocate. And I think two things can be true at the same time. Morgan needs to leave. She's not going to give him another chance. She's not going to wipe the slate clean. So let's stop torturing Ben and torturing yourself, but see, it's fun for her. And just leave. Please stop playing in our faces. Now, I'm not married, okay? So I understand you're supposed to work through these things. And so that's the only reason why I'm going to play devil's advocate. This is why they're on the show. I guess they're supposed to work through it. But honestly, I don't see Morgan getting over this. If you lied to me for a month and we only have one more month to go, the odds are not in your favor. So let's just call it what it is. Stop making each other miserable and go our separate ways. If y'all think I'm wrong, please drop down in the comment, Shade Squad. And if you haven't already, please make sure you hit that like button.
And the subscribe button.
And your thoughts, Nels?
You already know how I feel. I feel like she's being extra. I feel like I understand that he lied and you're upset at the fact he lied, but I don't feel like it should have been something she asked for from the get-go.
You lied to me.
That's like somebody that's like somebody telling me not to talk to you about our relationship.
Yeah, we already had this conversation, but you would never tell somebody I'm not going to talk to trees.
But we also established that this man is a pleaser. I am not.
Well, that's how Morgan and Ben is doing. It ain't the best situation.
And it's something he's trying to work through. And if you don't want to stick around for it and understand that that's who he is in this moment and time, and he recognized it and trying to work through it, then so be it. I don't think you should still keep on pounding his head about it.
Kristen says she knows the Morgan she met and knows how she was ready to get married and feels for her. She then offers to go over to Stasia's apartment and crash the guy's party.
Hey, like, let's go.
Kristen's a real one. Kristen's a real one. I know somebody else like that. I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, girl, nah, I won't cause no trouble. I'm just sit right here and complain and drink and cry. And he'd be like, nah, bitch, let's pull up. You need to have one in your squad. That's all I'm saying. So now, Ben is hanging with the guys and trying to explain what's going on. He admits he's been talking to Justin behind her back, lying to her face. He says he felt backed against a wall because when they argue, he feels like he can't get a word in. Facts. And he feels like he constantly says the wrong things. And because of that, he holds on to it. Or I'm sorry, holds it in. And that makes him just as frustrated. So he felt he had no one to talk to. And Mitch interrupts and says that talking to your friends because you just married a stranger and you need to vent is perfectly normal.
Especially when y'all are all going through the same process.
I thought that was very funny that the person that is always Team Mitch, her and Mitch agreed on this.
It's not just Mitch that agreed, but I get where you coming from.
I'm just saying, when it comes time for an interview, I hope you the one sliding in Mitch's DMs. Anyway, so, you know,
like I was riding for you the whole time.
Right. So Mitch tells him if Morgan can't deal with that, that's her shit. Well, Justin says he know Ben lied, and that's no excuse, but it's not like he cheated. I said, okay, Justin, well, we're not going to compare it to the worst thing.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. So
I was like a big,
you know what? Okay, let's talk about it, guys. Let's talk about it. I got to pull it out my ass now. That's like people saying, oh, because Nick Cannon takes care of his kids, even though he makes all these single parent homes, it's better than having a baby daddy that don't do shit. No, it's not. It's still bad. But okay, I digress. So now, what was I saying? Justin feels like, Morgan feels like it's all about her, and just wants someone to listen to her and watch her vent, and she's not ready to be married. Ben says they have to see Dr. Pepper the next day, and Mitch asks that if Morgan can see that she might be tripping, does he think things will turn around? Ben says he cried.
I feel like Pastor Cal kind of told her a little bit that she was tripping, and nothing changed.
No, nothing changed. Ben says he cried the first 3 days and lost 7 pounds. I think I just said this was toxic, but anyway, right then the girls walk in, okay? And Miguel says that although it's awkward, he can see that Ben wants to make it work with Morgan. Miguel asks Morgan her breaking point, and she says he broke her trust the first time on the honeymoon, then he broke her trust again. What really bothered her is Ben coming to her, talking about how much he hates lies, but yet continued to lie to her face. Morgan, you got my vote on that one. I'm not taking it away from you. She said he's been lying to her face daily. He told her he wasn't talking to Justin about them when he was going to him daily. Now, Morgan says if he would have just come to her and been honest and would have handled it, and she would have handled it much better than what's going on right now. And I think what Morgan is saying is, no, I don't like the fact that you were talking to Justin. But when I asked you if you were talking to Justin, if you just would have been honest, we could have probably dealt with some things on a different level. It kind of
scared of you.
He is scared of her. Okay, that is a great, because Twitter be calling her Mortal Kombat Morgan. So
he's scared of her.
And I agree with that. I do think that he might be scared of her. So, but she just wanted him to come to her and be honest. She says, not only is there no accountability on Ben's part, and Miguel addresses Ben and asks.
I didn't agree with that.
Well, it's crazy because when Miguel addresses Ben and asks him if that's true, and he confirms that everything Morgan just said was
true. Because he's scared of her, but we actually saw him take accountability.
Now, Nate questions Morgan on what's up with the hostility. He says he knows Ben is cool, calm, and collected, and every time he sees Morgan, she's pissed off all the time.
And like he can't do nothing right.
Right. Nate believes Morgan has an attitude of never being satisfied. He doesn't believe Ben can get a word in, and that he needs to do a better job of speaking up and standing his ground. And I can agree. And as Neil said, he's scared. Nate tells her it's very subjective to say he's doing something against her when they are in this very abnormal experience. I said, look at Nate out here trying to drop gems just because you've been in therapy for 2 weeks.
Right, period.
Right? I ain't mad at it.
It's working.
Look, we Pisces, Nate. We just go with the flow. So anyway, Morgan says she understands that, but because they are going through this experience, she expected Ben to have her back and felt like he didn't in the nursing career situation. She said, and that's where the betrayal comes in. Ben says he takes responsibility for lying and says he questions whether he can really handle what he asked for, which was someone with a strong mind. And he says he's coming from a culture where that's not easy. He also recognizes he has past traumas that he hasn't dealt with either, and realizes he can't make someone else happy if he's not happy himself. So he apologizes to Morgan and tells her he signed up for therapy today and is just trying to demon slay his demons. And he says that, you know, he knows Morgan feels scorn and it's tough, but he's trying. And this is my point. So if Ben has already decided that Morgan may not be the person for him because what he thought he wanted, he now realizes he may not have wanted that. Why don't we just cut our losses and call it a day?
What I don't understand is why it couldn't have been seen as just a miscommunication or a misunderstanding, the whole nursing thing. Because it was even for us, it was a misunderstanding.
Well,
right?
for him, I think for her, she thought, oh, it was a misunderstanding. But then when you keep going to talk to people about it, now you're
to Justin. That's it.
Like I'm a liar.
He only went to okay, yes, and I was wrong. But the way you explained it to me, you did not say, I am still a nurse, but I'm still trying to get this. What you said was that when you signed up, you said that you had this degree and you lied about it. So I'm not lying. You don't have that degree. You're still working towards it. So in my mind, you are lying about being a nurse, when in reality, you are a nurse, but you were lying about the degree that you had. At the end of the day, you still lied.
Okay, we can't pull no cut cards with that. She is a nurse, but she did embellish on the degree.
So my thing is, why isn't it like, why aren't you taking accountability? You at the end of the day, you still lied. And yes, I said that you lied about being a nurse. I was wrong that you lied about being a nurse, but you still did lie.
Okay.
I'm
just here to cool you off.
I don't like how she's coming at him. Like it's she's doing the most, but at the end of the day, you still lied.
And this is why Shade Squad, I say they should just nip it in the bud, stop playing in our face, and let's move on to couples that's actually working.
If I was him, I'd have been like, my fault. I was wrong about what you lied about. You're a nurse, but you don't have the degree that you said that you have. My bad. So Morgan and Ben are getting ready for Dr. Pepper to come over, and it was just a super awkward like energy.
It was super awkward.
Super awkward. Like they just sitting on the couch.
She's not staying there. They didn't have shit to say to each other while they were waiting for Dr. Pepper. It was super awkward.
Dr. Pepper gets there and she lets them know, I'm up to date on everything. And what's going on. And she just wants to be helpful and lets them know that she hopes they can show some, or did she say compassion? Because you know Siri be messing with me.
She said she hopes that they can show some compassion and forgiveness.
What I tell you, Siri? Okay, see, I can't. Some compassion and forgiveness to each other because she knows how much they wanted this marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So she asked them why and how all this happened. He explains that he didn't think, he really had expectations, but he realized that he did, and says he was over judgmental and insensitive, and feels that this happened because he's scared to converse with her. So, he went behind her back and then he lied to her face about it and says it's less stressful and more comfortable to go and speak to Justin. But understands, that he made a lot of mistakes. To me, his only mistake was lying. But, who am I? I'm no therapist. Dr. Pepper says that he seemed overwhelmed and wonders if
he envisioned a male world with a wife in it rather than a husband and a wife with basically their back against the world. Like, I don't care if we on a run, baby, long as I'm next to you.
Which
That's
makes
what she
sense.
was saying. You were supposed to be giving Ben. You weren't giving that.
That actually made sense when, he was comparing everything like basketball and like his
right
and stuff like that. When she said that, I was just
the village. It's a team effort. And no, it's supposed to be me and you.
I was like, I don't know. I feel like it's different for them too because of how they grew up, right? She didn't have a village, right? She didn't have all the people in her family that she may have needed or whatever. She just had maybe a couple people that she can go to
Mm-hmm.
and outside friends, right? Whereas Ben has his entire family. They're all kind of in his business. They all know everything about each other. And this is who he consults with. This is who he goes to. So he has a village, his team. So that's what he's used to. So they just have, different perspectives. So Morgan says that she looked back and asked herself, because, she may have made, could she have made a safer space for Ben, and used different tones and said things differently. She says that it's really hard for her to bring someone back in after, I'm gonna say, her trust is gone.
Yeah, that was basically what she said.
But
that is what she said.
But she let him back in after, she felt betrayed, and says her walls were coming down, and then, she was opening up, and he disappointed her again after she gave him a clean slate. Dr. Pepper explains to Ben she wants him to understand how important trust is and how important working on things out with your person you pledged your life to is. She says part of what they're planning is they ask you to think about yourself at some point in your childhood and write a letter to yourself from who you are now, and then ask them to read that letter to each other because it gives them more insight on who you are, what you dealt with, and how you conquered it, and build on that. And says she hopes that they can, make some progress from this exercise. Morgan looks like, maybe she had a little bit of hope in her eyes. She even cracked a little smile. I think it may have given Ben a little hope. So Dr. Pepper says that they asked the couples to return to their roots and share some of their childhood experiences with their spouse, as well as write a letter to their younger self about a significant point in their life. So Ben and Morgan sit down to read their letters, and she asked him to go first. So he starts by saying, "You're loved." Huh?
Setup.
Right.
It was a setup. No, you should go first.
Right. Starts by saying, "You're loved even when you question it."
That he is accepted to forgive his parents for the strict environment that he grew up in. He realizes it was out of love and loyalty, but he is more than his accolades. He talks about struggling, now feeling good enough, or not feeling good enough. I ain't even got no Siri. That was my fuck up anyway. And looking to others for approval and acceptance. He tells himself to stop worrying so much about the future and live in the moment. He looks to Morgan to read her letter.
And this bitch.
How about that Mortal Kombat, Morgan? How does that go? Mortal Kombat!
She hit this nigga with the fatality.
All right. Okay. Finish him.
Right? She says she's not comfortable. She says she's not comfortable reading her letter to him and feels every time she's opened up, he uses it against her.
Can I tell you I was with Morgan?
What?
I was with her on this one. I'm not going to be mad. I am not. You have said everything to I'm jealous of how perfect your family is and all this other slick bullshit that you've said.
That's a rumor.
It was a rumor. Anyway, point is that you clearly been talking cash shit. So what? So I am not going to
I knew you a month
information that you can use against me to talk cash shit.
I'm just not Team Morgan. It is what it is. After that, she got up and left, and Ben looked floored. I believe he just went to his bedroom after that. He probably went in his bed and cried. He went and cried in the corner. Yeah. He went and cry. Look, Tracy, he gonna cry in the car.
All right, y'all. So we see Nate and Sasha. They sit down with Dr. Pepper. She wants to know some of the struggles that they've had and how they're resolving issues. Now, Sasha says she thinks she moves like super quick, which we know. Aquarius sounds similar. Now, She knows who she is and exactly what she wants. So she's all in, and she expects him to be as well. She says she felt Nate was a little bit slower. Now, Dr. Pepper tells her, Dr. Pepper, come through with a word, girl. Dr. Pepper says, there's something I want you to think about.
I want you to take this into consideration.
Take it into consideration. You didn't marry you. So you're fully entitled to want that. But if she did get the same and the same style, she would be disappointed. And I said, break it down, Dr. Drop the gems, Dr. Pepper. I don't even like Dr. Pepper. But anyway, what? So I mean like the beverage, not the doctor. Oh. So Nate says they have stimulating conversations for the most part, and says that he knows sometimes he can be concise or matter of fact. Dr. Pepper explains that Nate has never been in a household where women talk, discuss, overanalyze things. And I was going to say, Nate, well, I guess male Pisces and female Pisces are different. So I'll give you some grace.
They are.
Overthink like a motherfucker. But anyway, she tells Nate to ask inquisitive questions so Stasia knows he's listening. He turns to Stasia and asks her if she feels he's been trying to do that. And she tells him now he is, yeah. So they bring up their arguments. And Stasia says she was surprised at the last argument they had, because we know we seen a different side of Nate. And I said, I always tell y'all, just like a Gemini, y'all better stop sleeping on us Pisces. There is two fish. Keep playing with it if you want to. One is a king barracuda. Try it if you want to. So anyway.
Or a great white.
Well, that part too. So, because that is a fish. Now, you know, Sasha says she was surprised. She's never seen him like that. Dr. Pepper tells Nate to let Stasia know that he's angry, but he's not going anywhere. And I thought that was super dope. Mm-hmm. She also says, if you're going to have a tough discussion, that the two should hold hands. I said, I'm going to start doing this shit. I don't know how it's going to happen, because motherfuckers don't want to hold hands when we mad. But I'm going to try that. I thought that was—
I guess if they came off by saying, you know what, I'm upset, but I'm not going anywhere. That's a great time to hold someone's hand versus y'all yelling back and forth.
Can I just, okay, so my only problem with that statement is it depends on what you do. I can't say that. I can't just let you come on. If you didn't take the garbage out, I can yell at you, but I'm not going nowhere. You come home and you don't come home for 2 days. That's not going to be the same conversation.
I think she's referring to like a respectful marriage relationship.
Because I was like, that doesn't work in every instance.
You don't come home for 2 days, the locks might be changed.
Right.
Then we don't got to talk at all.
So yeah, so you know, Stasia tells him she thinks he's there. She brings up their arguments. Well, we talked about that. And Stasia is floored because her mother told her the exact same thing. She tells them and you know, talks about the holding hands again. Anyway, that way they can address their problems as a team, realizing that neither he or she is the problem. I said, okay, Dr. Pepper. Then she asks where they are with their physical intimacy, because, you know, clearly y'all hold hands. And then we learned that they have definitely consummated their marriage.
We learned Nate is holding something else.
Okay. Well, based off of what he was doing, Mr. Pleaser, I knew it wasn't going to be long. But anyway.
Look, not according to, who was it, Miguel? Was it? No.
Mitch. It was Mitch. That was
Mitch thought he wasn't doing it right.
Appetizer.
He was like, he ain't doing it right if that's all you got to.
Look, Mitch, he done got the whole entree.
Or he was doing it right and she was satisfied and didn't want nothing else.
Okay. Sometimes that's all you need. Anyway, so Dr. Pepper asks, so does it make you feel more married? Which they both agree it does. She then asked Stasia if that makes her feel more secure in her marriage, which she agrees it does. So Dr. Pepper says sex can be great without love, but it's definitely great with it.
So Stasia takes Nate to see the apartments that she lived in from, you know, I think it was 1st grade to 11th grade. And she said she was there majority of her childhood because her mom worked a lot and she went to school.
And walked to school at that.
Yes, her brother and her sister, she says, were home a lot, and they did walk to school. She even shows him where, she used to cut through like her elementary school, and apparently, she walked a few miles to her middle school. She says she came from humble beginnings, and that's the reason for her ambitious nature now. And she just wants to live a comfortable life. She says that she used to make purses in high school to make extra money, and she would sell it to the girls at school. Apparently, she would make them out of jeans, take them to the mall, and get their names embroidered on them, which I thought was cute because he can relate to this, because we know he used to sell these knockoff fake designer purses, and he can relate to that. He's like, yo, we both hustlers. Like, this is what I want, because he wanted a power couple. He took him to the Mentos house where she spent the last year of her high school year, and says she's known Deanna since first grade. This was Deanna. So this house that she went to was the mom and dad of Deanna. Apparently her mom was moving away, and she was really good at volleyball. And the mom and dad were like, no, like, let her stay here. Like, they wanted her to stay a part of the team, stay in the school, and they took her in. So Nate asked, how was she in high school? So Dave, the father, says that he came home one evening and Stasha was looking really pretty. And he asked her where she was going. She said she was going on a date with somebody. So there was a honk outside, and he says that she jumped up and about to run to the door. And he's like, oh, no. Yeah, So he made the boy come to the door. Okay. He says he was really nice, real respectful. And he even brought her home a half an hour early. Because look, Daddy Dave didn't play. Okay. But apparently this is what taught her self-respect, and how a man is supposed to treat you, especially since they had a successful marriage. It taught her what it's supposed to look like. Stasha, she reads her letter. She begins reading her letters to herself and starts by saying if she could give advice to herself as a first grader through elementary, she would let her know changing schools and meeting new people would be tough, but you'll meet the right friends who will last a lifetime. And as a high schooler, this is when you'll start to grow into a woman. Stay strong. She'll start to challenge authority in a good way, that will allow you to live your life and continue to live your truth. You'll be surprised at what your future holds. Then Nate, he starts his. He says your first year moving back to the States will give you a feeling of feeling different, and says to embrace your unique talents and ways of thinking. Learn to control your temper. It's not healthy, and you'll get into unnecessary trouble in school. At age 14 will be your first year in high school. Your dad will get divorced, and you'll be very quiet. Snap out of your introverted self and do extracurricular activities with other kids. You're smarter than all the kids in all the grades. I said, okay, Nate. All right.
Stasha peeped that. She was like,
okay. Right? Smarter than all the kids in all the grades. I said, all right.
Thought it was interesting because of what he was highlighting. He said it was hard for him. He wasn't the regular old kid. He was the strange European black boy with shorts above his kneecaps. I thought that was funny.
Right.
He talks about how introverted he was during high school. Stasha questions whether that was because of the divorce, and he does believe that had an effect. Stasha shares that she was also quiet growing up, and she said she ate by herself at lunch. She said there were times she longed to be popular, but felt it wasn't worth it. She tells us in confessional she was surprised at how deep Nate is going, and she feels like he's communicating with her on a level of intimacy that she didn't think was possible, so she's anxious to see what the future holds. Watch this.
You saw like this, watch this. So Nate took Stasha through his old neighborhood and shows his old home and where his best friend lived. He says his dad got separated from Maria, so they moved into an apartment complex his freshman year. So from like 9 to
his
14.
sister, I think. I didn't realize he had a sister.
Oh, I didn't know.
I feel like he said me and my sister or something like that.
Oh, okay. I didn't. So she asked him, "What's the memory that he
Well,
can
you know
recall?"
what? I might be confusing him with Stasha. He might not have no siblings. Don't judge me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I know he only
Because
talks
I
about
feel
him.
like the dad was like, everybody used to ask me how I took care of Nate and his sister, and that's why I feel like I feel like he mentioned someone else outside of Nate that he was taking care of. Now, whether they share the same parents is different, but I feel like he may have brothers and sisters. Just my thoughts. But go ahead.
So she asked him what's a memory that he can recall, and he says that his dad let him meet other kids, and he wasn't super strict, and it was good times. He says a lot of his best memories are over there, and apparently, he was hanging out with his best friend Jeff, and he bet him that he couldn't throw a rock over the house. So of course, Nate, he tried to do it
and threw it through the neighbor's window.
Yeah. And his little sneaky ass took off running. His daddy ain't never found out until he got older.
And his dad pops up and says there's a lot of stories he hears now.
Right? That I ain't know.
And he talks about how he almost got into it with somebody else's parents because Nate was fighting a child and they ran back and told.
But apparently Nate got hands.
His dad says he encouraged him to not start fights. Now, Stasha asked Joe, aka Dad, how did he do it, taking care of Nate and his siblings? See, I knew I wasn't crazy on his own. He gets emotional, but says he wouldn't have it any other way. And Joe does get emotional, and Nate is like super surprised. He says that, his dad raised him a certain way. And that's just the way they were taught to like not really show emotions. And Sasha says she realizes now why Nate is the way he is. She brings up the fact that he got teary-eyed at brunch with his mom when they asked about his dad. So Nate says it's the sacrifices, obviously, that his dad made. And his dad is actually surprised that he, got emotional. He never expected that from Nate either, because obviously he taught him not to be emotional. So she believes Nate is doing a great job at articulating his feelings and processing his emotions. And she's happy that her husband is letting her in.
So Dr. Pepper catches up with Kristen and Mitch and wants to know how they dealt with the friction that they were having. Kristen says they started off very rocky because, as we know, Mitch was very vocal about it. And, she's not feels like she's trying to overcompensate. She wanted to be the best wife she could be, and so that he wouldn't continue to feel the way he was feeling.
It was a bug. I had to hit it. It was bug. It happens like that sometimes.
She says she feels like, well, she likes Mitch. She says she feels like they have fun together. He's a good person. Her issue is she really wanted to make him happy and lost a little bit of herself in the process. She said she wanted to be the best wife she could be so that he wouldn't continue feeling that way. She said she really likes Mitch. He's a good person. They have fun together, and she really wanted to make him happy, but feels like in the process she lost herself or pieces of herself, and she didn't want to do that anymore. Dr. Pepper tells her that she's glad she's not walking on eggshells, but
let's differentiate
from
you being your own
being your own good self and supporting the marriage. Dr. Pepper asks what it would take for her to feel like Mitch is really working and he's putting in what he's supposed to, putting in that work.
Yeah.
And Kristen said she would need some questions answered and would like to know if he feels the same way he felt day 2 of the honeymoon. Or does he wish he had a different wife? I was like, Jesus.
She got some hard questions.
Second, she needs to know that, he fell in love with her. Dr. Pepper says there's a lot of
She
demand.
doesn't need to know that right now. She needs to know that it could happen. She was, her exact words were, I don't need a I'm in love with you, but I do want a I could fall in love with you.
I could.
And Dr. Pepper tells her that's a lot of demand in it. And this is a guy who doesn't do well with that.
With demands. And
Dr.
Pepper said she
shouldn't have got married. It went on a show called Married at First Sight. I'm just saying.
Dr. Pepper said that she thinks that he can be a good husband, but they just need to figure each other's languages and feelings out. She basically explained to give him some direction by saying what you need and letting him know that you need him to show you some affection. She wants to know that she makes him happy, and she also wants to hear it because Mitch is not good at that.
She needs affirmations. I think I said this a couple of reviews ago.
Yes. Dr. Pepper asked Mitch if he admires her, and he says yes. She asked if he feels affectionate towards her, and he says he does. And clearly, he's not sure whether,
I said he's grateful for her, and he thanks her for the way she's handling the marriage and how brave she was with him in this process.
Brave, huh?
Brave. He used the word brave.
Dr. Pepper tells him one of his roadblocks is fear. And he gets critical and self-righteous, self-righteous when he feels threatened, and tells him that's something he has to work on. So she asks Kristen what she needs, and she says that she wants to feel validated more. Dr. Pepper asks him if he wants to do everything he can to see if he can love her in the way they both need. And he says he does. Dr. Pepper says if he truly takes the commitment and work through the fears of not being loved enough or not being perfect, the spark will be there.
Kristen brings Mitch to the softball field. She said she spent a month or better half of a month trying to be the best wife she could be, and she started to lose herself. And she wants to share with him her sporty side, like Sporty Spice, and be in a place where she can explain her younger side to him and why she is the way she is. We learned she ran track, played volleyball. She did a lot of shit. I think she was on the debate team, the forensics team, the CSI team. She was on it all. So she was.
I don't know. She went on a rant about what she did. And I think
I was going to say she was an overachiever. Now we learned Mitch is terrible at pitching, but says he's a great hitter. Now, Kristen talks about how the field they're in brings up mixed feelings for her. She said, although she loves the game, she had a lot of pressure from her parents, especially her mom. Her mother would start criticizing her performance as soon as they were on the car ride home. Okay. And so she just says that she was like that in everything. And then she talks about her having a job, participating in sports, and giving up sports so that she could work. She says she sort of regretted that because she wishes she had more time to be a kid. She explains that when she hears Dr. Pepper or Mitch say she's demanding, it's triggering because she knows it's true. So she tells Mitch to keep letting her know when she does that. She said it comes from growing up with no room for error. And I was like, well, and then Mitch says his childhood, there was a large margin for error. He didn't have any structure. And Kristen said that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Is why he is the way he is now and why they have their disputes, because they have two totally different upbringings.
Apparently, Mitch went to visit his mom and brought back tons of pictures. So Mitch is hoping that sharing today gives Kristen a deeper insight, and he feels lucky that there's some things that she really likes and respects about him, but there's some stuff that she doesn't. And he wants her to have more insight on why he acts the way he does. So he shows these pictures after his
And
parents
Mitch used to have a
divorced.
head full of hair, y'all.
That was so unnecessary.
I'm sorry, what he did.
That was so unnecessary. He's old, okay?
That don't go there.
So he shows her these pictures after the parents' divorce, and it's apparently after an earthquake. He says during the earthquake, his brother's bunk bed actually fell on him. And says during the earthquake, their dad was running down the hallway to get them. And, he thought he was just heroic. Apparently, clearly the bunk bed didn't crush him. But, he felt like his dad was a superhero after that. So Mitch says that his dad passed in 2014. And he felt bad that his dad isn't there with him to experience this part of his life, and feels that he really would have liked Kristen. And he just hopes that he's proud of the decisions that he's made. Kristen is happy to see the photos of his dad and says he talks about him, but she's never seen him. Mitch says that him and his mom were going through the photos as well. And he asked her when he started becoming rebellious. And apparently it was after the divorce.
His mom told the story. His dad left on a Saturday. By the time he went to school on Monday or Tuesday, he was basically a whole
He
problem.
was acting out by then.
He was acting out. And she talks about how he terrorized the neighborhood protesting. Oh no, this is my notes. He talks about how he terrorized the neighborhood protesting climate change and going through their recycle bins.
Did he say that?
No.
I'm like, wait a second. I feel like I would have wrote that down.
I wrote that in the script.
The worst.
He did say he was almost held back
yeah.
his classes. He didn't grow with structure or respect. He felt he knew best back then, and he didn't. And he realized he probably rejected a lot of help. Now, Kristen says they had high highs and low lows, and she wishes during those lows she would have known all this information about Mitch. She believes she would have been more patient. She said after talking, there's a soft spot that wasn't there before. Said that's that devil dick. Mitch goes to visit his father's gravesite, and he brings Kristen along, and I thought this was super sweet. He's making a video talking to his dad. He introduces Kristen and says he felt his dad would have liked her because she's spicy. He thinks he would have gotten a kick out of how they got married. He says he wishes he could have told him how proud of him he was, and Kristen reassures him that his dad knows. Then they go to the beach to read their letters to their younger selves. Kristen talks about trying to be perfect and make her parents proud, as we know. She realizes she put a lot on her plate and grew up too fast. She talks about holding on to her standards, but giving grace for realistic expectations. I said, go ahead, girl. Mitch says it feels like good advice for any time in your life. Now, Mitch reads the letter to himself, and I'm not going to lie to y'all. This whole season, I have not felt 1 inch of sympathy, empathy, and I'm an empath for Mitch at all. Even the whole, oh, my dad, I didn't feel nothing. I ain't feel nothing. Y'all, when this man read his letter, I was crying like a bitch, okay? The letter to himself and says he can't say too much, but he's not a dragon slayer or a starship captain. But he does his best.
That was giving Miguel.
Right. But he does his best to make the world a better place. And he still gets to stick it to the man every day. The hard part is going to feeling like he doesn't fit, or he said the hard part is feeling like you don't fit in and feeling like you're on the outside looking in. However, he prefers to be himself. He gets emotional and says it's hard feeling different. And because he has a hard time expressing his feelings with the people he trusts when he's scared or sad, he said he wishes he would have found his path sooner. He tells his younger self to have faith. And Kristen is just like taken aback because she's never seen Mitch so vulnerable, and admits that she was still kind of angry and hurt, but by how they got started on the honeymoon. Now she says she doesn't feel that anger anymore, and she believes that's why he's so emotional. or why she's so emotional because she's so happy. Mitch said his hard exterior and the chip on his shoulder is just a lot of sadness and anger. And he realizes learning how to be vulnerable is the real strength. I said, what Dr. Nicole call it? Paradigm shift. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm here for it.
Dr. Pepper stops in to see Lindy and Miguel. And it was so cute. Lindy was baking some cookies for Dr. Pepper.
They were like, is Santa coming? What is going on?
Right? I thought it was cute. She was trying to be hospitable. Okay.
I thought it was cute too.
Dr. Pepper says her mission today is to be of service to their marriage, which she understands is going pretty darn well. And she says she loves to hear it. Lindy says she's still learning how not to be defensive. Apparently, she was making some eggs and was sauteing some onions. And Miguel walked in and he's like, you shouldn't put the spinach in yet. You should saute the onions more. And, you know, she said she immediately got defensive. And that reminded me of somebody I know.
Because I'm cooking. So when I'm cooking, you don't come in my and when you're cooking, I don't come over and say, you should do that. I don't do that. I just eat it. Or I don't.
Because he taught you. So you're not going to do that to the teacher. So she says, you know, she's insecure and not comfortable in the kitchen. So, you know, of course she got upset. Miguel says she killing it. Okay, he ain't got no complaints. She killing it.
But when the motherfucker leave you alone and let you do your shit, you be killing him. You be killing him.
He didn't leave her alone. He walked in, told her how to do it. She did it properly, and he said she killing it.
I don't want the hoverers. You're gonna come in the kitchen and do it, or you're gonna get the out.
Dr. Pepper feels that's wonderful, and it's great to hear. She tells her that she needs to believe it when he says it. She says that she sees a couple of things, but what?
No, Dr. Pepper says she does see a couple of things: judgment and control. She knows Lindy has fought hard to be an adult and live her life the way she chooses. She tells her to try to learn the difference between control and help, especially from Miguel, because he would never want to put her back in a space that makes her feel like she was trying to get away from. Mm-hmm. And then she asked if they've said they love each other, and they admit that they haven't. And we can see Lindy was super reluctant, like, no, we ain't said that yet. We doing it, but we ain't said it yet.
I know she like, I don't know when he gonna say it, but I'm ready to say it right now.
Right. So Dr. Pepper says her theory on love is that they'll be sure at some point, and I actually love when she said this, but in 10 years from now, they'll say that wasn't what this is. I said, okay, Dr. Pepper. Yes, girl. Okay. She said, you realize how much more your love can grow. Now, Miguel says he's still not ready to say it because it's important to him to mean it when he says it, especially since they've been waiting so long without saying it and doing the do without saying. So then they go to the dance class, the swing class. I was going to say my salsa, but I ain't do a salsa. They went to the swing class. And Lindy says growing up in her strict upbringing and dancing being taboo, this is a way for her to free herself. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and free yourself. She hopes that Miguel can appreciate the steps she's taken to be free of the constraints of her religion. They sit down and discuss her growing up and how her first slow dance was at their wedding, which we all remember. She doesn't really understand why in their religion they can't dance. She said they danced in the Bible, they partied. And she thinks it may be a sexual thing. She isn't sure, but she doesn't want to speak against the denomination that she was raised in. We learned she's never seen her parents dance nor drink. She said they're very conservative. She can't eat shellfish either. I said, girl, this is not the life. Miguel says hearing about Lindy makes him feel sad for her, but he loves that she fought to not let her upbringing be who she is, and Miguel can relate.
So she's ready to share her letter, and she starts off by saying that her parents had just divorced when she was in 8th grade. So this was a sad time for her. She was around 13 or 14.
She talks about not knowing who she is or who she wants to be. She says that she's not sorry that she's not homesick and she's being raised by a group of her 14-year-old friends. She tells us she left a toxic environment at home. She talks about it being scary and painful being alone, especially when your home life just imploded and you don't have a phone to call home. She says she doesn't feel sorry for her younger self because she's going to meet her lifelong friends. The pain and uncertainty is going to be what drives her to healthy outlets. We learned she moved out. Well, I was going to say, we learned she moved out at 14. And I say in my notes, I always put it in, so I can talk about that. Why exactly and where she went, I guess we'll learn. But whatever. So Miguel tells her he's looking forward to starting a family and seeing how they raise their kids based upon childhoods that they've had. He said he realizes that they've both been hardened by those experiences, but not turned off from life. And he said he's curious and excited. Gotta love Miguel's optimism. Then he takes her to the House of Puerto Rico. Oh, now I just want to say I have in my notes. This I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, any viewer, Shade Squad, if you're from San Diego, but I do believe this was in Balboa Park. Only because they have like Balboa Park has this little, it's almost like Embassy Road for us in DC, where you have the Embassy of Tanzania, the Embassy of and they're all in a row and you can go to the different embassies. It's kind of like that in a park, but they all have different houses of the different countries. And I think I believe that's where they were. I feel pretty strong. Anyway, so he gives her history on Puerto Rico and shares with her about the different islands and location. And he thinks it's important for her to understand his history because it's such a big part of who he is. He talks about the good and the bad of his childhood, how he was picked on and felt he wasn't accepted by Puerto Ricans or Americans. He says he has a thing of expecting the worst out of situations, even though he wants the best. He reads the letter to himself and he talks about how life as a kid was messed up and he went through it. However, he rose from the ashes like a phoenix. He tells himself to keep on keeping on and he'll find a total babe that he's in love with. He then tells Lindy he loves her and she tells him she loves him too. I thought this was really sweet. And Miguel said, it doesn't feel weird loving Lindy. It feels easy and natural. He said
the easiest thing he's ever done in a relationship.
Right. The producers asked Miguel in confessional, since they're in love and they already married, what comes next? And, he's like, it's the baby and the baby carriage. I said, I think Lindy and Miguel gonna make it, and I'm here for it, even though she might switch up on it.
Because it's to her.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Another review of Married at First Sight, episode 11. Please make sure, if you have not already, that you hit that like button.
You comment.
You subscribe.
And you hit the notification bell.
And please make sure that you are following us on all of our platforms, the TikTok, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook. And I just want to say thank you guys because I get the notifications. I see you got a new follower. You're doing this. And I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all following instruction. So with that being said, make sure that you like and subscribe, people, because that makes us happy as well. And if you can't do that, we do accept monetary donations and late birthday blessings for Nels. Thank you so much. We love you. Have a good night.
Good night.